Hi there, and welcome to Bustthenet. Yes, this is a new show. It's called FM University. I've got headsets on. That means I have guests. Yes, I've got 3 guests on today's show. This is a show where we deal with common issues that people might face. This might happen with me, this might happen with you, but ideally, we want to try and help everybody out by dealing with some of these issues. So, we've got a couple of guests on the show. We've got Jack, Matt, and Jared. How are you guys? How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And Matt, how are you doing?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
And we've got Jack as well. Jack, what save do you have right now?
I'm currently halfway through my halfway season of my West Ham United save.
That's the save I just got on Game Changer, right?
I played along a bit further than the save I've given you.
Okay, January. Jared, how are you doing? You are another Game Changer person. Except I've got 2 guys here who've done. I've received saves on Game Changer, and I think you guys haven't seen the show yet.
Oh, I think mine went up earlier today.
Oh yes, I just released it today. Okay, and
I got right drilling for my set pieces.
okay, all right. And then Matt, are you still doing a MLS save?
I'm currently doing a Red Star FC save in France.
Wow,
actually,
that is challenging. Yeah. And the thing is, on today I was gonna ask you guys, right? Because if you go to the forums, some people, I mean, even I had this issue early on this season when I was playing with Wolves. I had the same issue. I had one issue in the whole game, and it was this thing called the long shot problem. So the funny thing about my Liverpool save is we've only considered one long shot this entire season, and it came from this game, right? So that's just one in a whole season of games. And I've done the same thing with Staley Bridge, which is my lower league save. But it wasn't such a similar experience when I started with FM19. In FM19, when I first started, I was in the group that was going, oh my God, I have so many long shots. So, I'd have a corner, that'd be a long shot. I'll have a throw in, there's a long shot. I have open play, there's a long shot. So, and I was using the tactical presets. I was trying to go like, okay, I want to play like this. I think this is how I should set up. I'm going to be attacking. I'm going to go down the wings. I'm going to like do all this wonderful stuff. And I'll lead by 2-0. And the next thing you know, the game is 2-2. And I've conceded 2 goals from long shots. Now, do you guys have any issues with this?
I have plenty of issues with long shots. Mainly like the second ball from a corner.
Okay.
Or the just absolute howitzers from 30 yards.
Okay, this is interesting. What about Matt? What about you?
I have a lot of issues with long shots from throw-ins, or sometimes just second ball from crosses, or just I guess not second ball, but just after the defender is cleared across, it ends up as somebody outside the box.
All right.
Not getting the second ball.
And Jack?
I've got a pretty slow defense. I'm playing a deep line, so I'm inviting the pressure. Mm-hmm. So if they can't get past, often they'll move me aside, and then one player will get a long shot off.
Okay. So, all right. So what I've noticed is this is a common theme, right? Okay. People have issues with set pieces. Now, or throw-ins. Okay. First up, there's something in the game that I've done a video on, right? It's called movement into channels. We have something called the horizontal channel. This is a space between your defense and your tiers. So at the moment, I have one tier, and I've got a DM here, and I've got another tier here. So if the game moves up, you will see them forming into like a 4-1-2-1. So there's this player, the DM slot here, right? And then we've got something called the channels, which is the space over here. So the moment I become a bit more attacking, right? Or like, let's take a look at this this Benfica team, which has got wingbacks. They're playing with one wingback at least, all right, in this position, and the other guy is more or less a fullback. So this is the vertical channel that we have. So when you have in open play, if you want to reduce long shots, you essentially have to deal with the problem of controlling the spaces in the horizontal area. So you like this this Benfica team is dropping, and they're trying to control the space here, but they've got these 2 players running back. Now, what you want to do is, when you have any kind of attack thing, you want to be using a role, or you want to set your defensive line up in such a way that your defenders, when they have the ball, they're pushed up slightly. You also want to make sure that your gap between your defensive line and your line of engagement isn't too big, because the moment you increase the gap between your defensive line and your line of engagement, you could end up with a situation where you are going to be leaving yourself vulnerable. So here I have an example, right? So we've got, this is the line of engagement. So we're going to ask you guys a very simple question, okay? What do you think the problem with this tactic is, just by looking at it the first time, right? If you see a tactic like this, which is the most vulnerable area for this tactic defensively?
In between the midfield and the defense.
Exactly. This is going to be the area that you're going to be worried about. But what we see a lot of, a lot of people doing this, right? So I want an attacking tactics. So first time I'm going inside this. I want to play positive. I want to play counter. This is a typical thing that people do. Counter press. Or maybe some people might not even choose counter press. They go counter press. They might uncheck it. Then they go, I wanna play a bit more attacking. So they download the tactic from the internet. So like, download the tactic. It's got this and this. So we got overlap right, overlap left, and then they go, okay, we can't let the opposite team out of the box. So they do this. Right. Now, when you do this, you're gonna have one big issue first up. You see the gap just opened up between the midfield and the defense? This is the entire horizontal channel that you just said, hello, this is space you can play in now, because these guys are going to be closing the opposition down here. Now, when you have the ball as well, using counter press, right? So here, if a team is using counter press or not using counter press, in this case is default, so the game will just decide when to use it. What's going to happen is, if these guys are attacking with the ball, this group is attacking with the ball, and they lose the ball, these guys will step up as well. If you look at counter press, you see the indication here? All these guys are going to step forward. So let's assume you won the ball back from a counter press. If you don't do something like go and score a goal with it or keep possession of the ball, what's going to happen is these guys are going to be further away from this group. Because the press is actually forward. You don't counter press backwards, right? So you counter press forward. So you win the ball and you go forward. So these guys are going to be further forward from this line. So your gap will increase. This also means is that if you lose the ball, your defenders are very vulnerable. So teams can attack you. They will have the space in the horizontal channel to move the ball. And you can also be vulnerable to a counter long shot from outside the box. Here you see this team, right? Bournemouth playing against Staley Bridge. They're attacking us. They're attacking us pretty high up the pitch. They're pressing us very high up the pitch. These guys are trying to win the ball. So now you see that there's no gap, right? In this, the gap is gone. So we're attacking the space. Gayton goes all the way and fires in a long shot from here. This can be quite common, right? So you are going to have an issue because you're going to end up with games that have potentially this issue. When you don't control the space in front of the defenders, so if the defenders are the ones that have to step up and close down a player, you allow teams to get long shots off. Now we know that the biggest issue with this team is actually this hole here, right? The DM position. Now, what's the biggest issue with the team that's playing narrow? The flanks are going to be vulnerable. That's very obvious. Okay, so these guys get pulled out of position. So this position here, this role here, is going to drift around helping out the defenders. So when it drifts around helping out the defenders, what's going to happen? You open up the space again. So it is important that you choose the right role for this position. You choose a narrow. If you're playing a narrow formation like this, then you actually have to have players that are good enough to close down, win the ball here. More importantly, these guys. I think I received the save from one of you. Inside that save, we actually have a situation, a dilemma. Now we come to the second part of this long shot dilemma. Yeah, we now know that you have to protect the space in front of you, right? This is the space. What kind of players do you think you need to protect the space in front of you?
Okay, N'Golo Kante kind of player.
Okay, giving an example like that is useful, but you also need to know exactly what. Okay, when you look at your defenders, how do you know they need help? What attributes will tell you they need help?
Positioning and concentration.
Very good. Positioning.
Decisions.
Yeah. Decisions, not so much. Positioning is the most important attribute, right? Positioning is the one that is they will be able to know when to step out. right? Anticipation, they can read the game. Concentration, yes. Decisions is like the 4th or 5th attribute in the tier that you need. Because most defenders have decent decisions, about 10. But I see a lot of people, what they do is, they go into the... I've seen somebody save where he actually focused on decisions with attacking movement in his training for one of his defenders. And I was like, you don't need to do that, because that is overkill on your player. So if you go to a defender, for example, and you want to train him, right? So if I pick one of my defenders and training and development, okay, decisions, most of your defenders will be half okay, but you got ball playing defender, it hits decisions already, right? But I actually saw somebody with central defender like this, right? So he had a central defender training, defend training, and he went and did attacking movement to get the decisions.
I think that was my save that I sent you.
Yes, that was your save.
It was Issa Diop, I think, because
Issa Diop, correct.
Yeah, it was one of my 5 DNAs that I want all my be built around, and I saw that he only had 10, so I thought,
okay,
that.
Yeah, but you don't need... See, the thing here is this, right? For your defenders, coming out of the gate, they will improve decision making if you give them a simpler, focus on something that is gonna be better for them. Like you see here, if you do attacking movement, you can also if you do defensive position, these are decisions that are still being worked on because of the role while playing defender. You don't need to.
Yes.
I
was also trying to boost his vision, because I thought I wanted to build from the back.
Okay.
With these, I wanted to spray the balls out wide, but
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, but you get that with... You still get that with playing a playing defender. So if you want a role, you got to set the role up so that it hits the right attributes as well. Plus, it plays in a... I mean, we don't need to have like a player like... Okay, almost every striker in my team becomes an inside forward by training, because I love the attributes of an inside forward. So, but in defense, we don't really need that, because in defense, there is... Positioning takes a lot of precedence. So when you want to prevent long shots, right? If your backline doesn't have good positioning, then you have an issue. The first issue is your boys are going to be moved out of position very easily. The second thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that if you don't have good positioning, right? Maybe even anticipation is like 1 or 2 points below the league average, automatically just use a DM. Because you're going to have to use a DM, because the defenders will need help. So it's one of the ways for you to prevent long shots, because you got to look at your team to see whether they can actually do the kind of defending that you want. Because if you play like this, is a very popular system is actually the 4-2-3-1, right? A lot of people have the 4-2-3-1. They go in, they create a 4-2-3-1 like this. So it's not really these roles, but you're going to have a 4-2-3-1 like this. Okay, so he's got... Did you move in? Okay, thank you very much. You got a 4-2-3-1 like this. Happy. Yeah, you got maybe a defend duty here. You got a support duty here. And then they've got maybe... And I've seen this a lot. Wing back suddenly. There's a fullback on attack or a wing back on attack. Maybe it's just a fullback on attack, and here one fullback on support. So you've got these guys running for it. You've got this big gaping hole here. If these two are not... These two defenders have to be fast. They have to have all the mental attributes in the toolkit for you to play a 4-2-3-1. On top of that, these two have to be able to drop back. So these midfielders become a very important screen, and they will need attributes as well. What kind of attributes do you think they will need now? It's the same attributes as a central defender. But
plus work rate and teamwork. Yeah.
Yes, plus work rate, plus teamwork. And not only that, because they are now going to be okay, now you're going to be faced with another team, right? These guys are always going to be face to face with players. What else do they need? There's going to be one attribute they will really, really need above all else, so they don't lose the ball.
Bravery.
Bravery is important because you need them to tackle some more. I think I heard something there.
Stamina or natural fitness.
Okay, stamina, natural fitness is almost a given, right? If you want to play any kind of a tactic. So if you had high stamina, natural fitness is good, because then you don't have to get a substitute just for one. Because natural fitness is very annoying. If a player has got low natural fitness, I immediately have a substitute waiting for him. So it's like I'm waiting for the 45th minute to come before I take him off. It's like, you don't have the juice to last the 90 minutes. But there's one other important attribute that you have to remember. For the
tackling.
Yeah, that's okay.
Like tackling, you want your midfielders tackling.
Of course, I've seen people with box-to-box midfielders, okay, playing here who have got poor tackling, right? Tackling is important, but okay, I'll give you. This is how you deal with priority attributes, right? Okay. Attributes have a priority. Always remember attributes of a priority system. That's all you need to remember. It's always mental, physical, then technical. Why? Because that's how the human psyche handles things, right? They will decide to do something, then they will attempt to do it, and then the question is how well they do it. At the last point, there's the act of doing it. So you've got your mental attributes at the start that drive things. Like the person must have desire, like determination. Okay, he must have decisions, anticipation, concentration. So he must know that positioning to get into the right position. That's for the football player. Then after that, he's got to have his technical attributes. He has to be physically able. He has to be physically able to get there, right? So you got work rate. Chances are, if you're playing a aggressive tactic where you're attacking as well, you want the moment you want to go attacking, then you need acceleration because your boys are going to be moving up the pitch, up and down, right? So you need acceleration. You need. Then you look at the gamut of stuff, based on what you're trying, what your overall tactic is going to be like. But more importantly, these guys are going to be under pressure. So if another team plays a high press against you, these guys will need composure as well. So they need composure and balance. A myth right now, or has been for many years, and I'm trying to correct it, is that composure is not needed for anybody else but a striker. That's like so 1990s FM. Okay, back when it's Championship Manager, everybody was doing that. All we bothered with was composure for strikers. Now it's not really the issue anymore. So your midfielders have to be very good in a 4-2-3-1. Both of them. You can't just go. One of them is very good at chopping players down, and the other one isn't, because unless that one player is N'Golo Kante, maybe, okay, and your defenders behind him are very good, then you might escape with a midfielder like Jack Wilshere, for example, because Jack Wilshere has got about 11 for tackling, but plays and has get an important thing called a player trait. Now we come to the third mystery of long shots, right? So we dealt with the first one, the horizontal channel. So if you're facing long shots and your defenders are slow, or your defenders are not very intelligent at positioning themselves, you're better off with a DM, right? The second thing that we dealt with was the defensive line, the line of engagement. If your gap is too big, they're going to come into the horizontal channel and have a field day with you. Okay. Now the third thing, and this is the thing that one of you completely missed in his Game Changer episode, and I actually was surprised to spend a lot of time doing it. I don't know if it's Jared or if it's Jack, but it was one of you. Okay, this is, what if this player had the player trait get further forward? What do you think is going to happen to your team?
You're going to be left with one central midfielder, two attacking mids.
Yes. This is the other mistake people make. They don't look at player traits. So if you have this, let's say you have this wing back right now, we get further forward, right? So he's got get further forward. During the transition, whatever role he's playing, he's just going to be slightly further forward than others. But if you're playing him on a support duty, he's going to be like an attack duty. If you're playing as an attack duty, he's just, he might be just a fraction forward. But these kind of players are just going to, they're going to try and get forward as much as possible. They're going to leave a gaping hole behind. If your midfielder has a get further forward trait, he's going to leave. You're going to leave him. There's so much for your defense. So when you lose the ball in transition, when you're counter pressing, it's going to be horrendous, because get further forward plus counter pressing equals disaster in midfield. If your players because you need to decide where your positions are, because this is like a game of you got to control the center, right? In football, if you don't control the center, you lose the game. So you got to try to make sure that you're checking your player traits. Okay, so what kind of other player traits do you think are going to cause your players to screw up, being a defensive becoming a midfield screen? Jared, what do you think are the player traits that a player needs here?
Things like dive into tackles and stuff like that not necessarily be too good, considering like you get a yellow card and that's like,
Okay, very good. I FM 19. I like to play with Anchorman. I think one of you has got Ben Pearson in his team. I think one of you has Ben Pearson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you, right? Okay. So I was doing your save and I saw Ben Pearson. The moment, how do you know a player is going to give you a big headache in your game? You have to go to the coach report. So which one?
Aggression.
Yeah, when you go to the coach report, there's a word here, there's a line here in the cons that says he's a competitive streak in him. The moment I see a competitive streak in him, I say this is a rule bender. So he might give, and if he's got high aggression and that streak, I'm very cocksure he's going to get either a yellow card every other game or he's going to get sent off.
The high competitive streak in the cons, would that entail that he has high dirtiness in his hidden stats?
I would say high dirtiness is a hidden attribute, but the competitive streak could lead to high dirtiness rating. I'm not very sure because I have in my entire life, right, I've never gone to the editor. I refuse to go to the editor. So I work off the assumption that a person, because you don't have high dirtiness here, so far I haven't seen a player with a dirtiness con. Have any of you seen one?
No.
No.
I haven't seen.
No.
No, I don't see it. What I do base everything on is the competitive streak because it makes a lot of sense. I use the information that the game provides me, right? So I have never used all those numbers in the game like PA, CA. I used to a long time ago in a land far away refer to PA and CA, but as in this game, I look at things like the desire, his desire to be competitive, right? So, or rather, his desire to bend the rule. That is the one that I'm worried about. And I find that con plus aggression is danger. And some players I've seen them, I think Ben Pearson was one. If I go through his history, I will see a lot of yellow cards. And if you play him, now this is the interesting part. When you play a player like that, okay, so if I have Ben Pearson and he's got that streak, you might see this. Let's see, who can I pick? Okay, we pick Fabinho up. And then you go to edit, you'll see things like here, hold position. Okay, this instruction affected by his traits gets into opposition already active for this role and duty. Now, if he's a defend duty, he's locked in. So chances are he's not going to move, right? He's not going to move very much. But if you play him as a support duty, okay, now when you click on this, okay, you see his trait is going to influence him getting into the opposition area. So one of the other things that you want to worry about is if you want a player to be an effective screen, dive into tackles is good, but you have to watch his you got to check his coach report. The other thing that you have to check is going to be the this player's dwelling on the ball, right? So a player that dwells on the ball might also be a bit risky, because if you're playing against a high press, a player that dwells on the ball needs very good balance, needs very good composure first touch. He needs to be able to pass the ball. More important than that, just not the player alone, but the players around him need to have good off the ball so that they make themselves available for the pass. So the issues that people have with the long shots is fundamentally quite simple to fix. The first thing that you want to fix is this, the defensive line. The deeper you are, I know that some people like to play the low block. I personally hate the low block. I can't handle what it does to my heart. So if you play on a standard defensive line, this is the very lowest you can go, but you're still vulnerable to the long shot. You can play with a high defensive line, but what do you think the defensive line does in the game, Matt?
It dictates, I guess, the space between the line of engagement. Well, the front of the. I don't know. It does a lot of things, so I have a hard time putting it into words. But it essentially starts with how far up the pitch you're going to start closing down. It combines that with the line of engagement, though.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay.
I have a hard time putting.
Okay. All right. I want you guys to think of defensive line in a very simple way. Okay. So stop. There's a lot of. The moment you start thinking it affects a lot of things, it gets a bit confusing. So defensive line is very simple. The moment your defenders get the ball, you see, if you move this slider, you notice one thing: the defensive line moves in check with that line of engagement, right? So the defensive line is how far your defenders are willing to be from goal when you have the ball. That's all. Notice if I move the defensive line, the gap between your midfield and your defenders narrows. Now it's big. Now it's small. So yeah, I didn't move the line of engagement. This lower line of engagement basically tells my team, okay, when to start closing down. It's got the defensive line is just how far my back line is going to be, okay, from the rest of the team. So if I have the ball, my back line is going to be further away from goal when we have the ball. This brings my back line closer to my midfield. If I want my gap to be small between my defenders and my midfielders, we have to make sure that I'm not too far away. But if I play with a DM base, when I play with a non-DM based system, is you kind of like need to lower your line of engagement. But if you play with a DM based system, it's a different thing. If I play with a DM based system, I got a lot of luxuries. Like here, I can do this. You see, notice that with the gap here is being held in check by this roll here. This one DM here is helping out. So with a DM based system, what you can normally do is you can play a much higher line of engagement, because your defensive line, as you move the defensive line up and down, the gap isn't that big. So your defensive line is how far away your back line is willing to be when you have the ball. This influences the way you attack, because when you're attacking with a low defensive line, your fullbacks might take some time to support the midfielders, and they also might be far away to support your midfielders. So sometimes you can starve your midfielders of support. So they have to carry the ball for a bit before they pass the ball to him. If you're playing like with a narrow, like a normal line of engagement like this, I can do one-touch passing because my players are going to be very close together. If I play with this, with a 4-2-3-1, and I have this for a situation, there's several things that are going to happen. First, this is going to be, first up, the gap is very large. Goalkeeper has the ball. Imagine the fullback is on attack. Fullback is going to be here. This fullback is going to be here. We got two of these guys here. The opposition is prevent short goalkeeper distribution and closing you down. Your goalkeeper is going to get, oh shit, now I've been told by my manager he wants to do short distribution. Who the hell am I going to give the ball to? The two central defenders are marked. Opposition is high up the pitch. So your goalkeeper decides to kick the ball towards the wing backs, but they're too high up the pitch. So this can happen if you play with overlapping fullbacks. So these are all things that can open up your channels. So does that make it clearer for you guys so far?
Yep, does. So basically, what he's saying is the example you just said, that is what Arsenal do under Emery, but only two centre backs, but then they get pressed, so the keeper ends up kicking it out of play.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Very simple. I understand.
Yeah, it's very, very simple. So the thing here about defensive line is, okay, that's the issue that most people have. So now long shots may seem like a very complicated subject, right? So it's about understanding the elements that are in the game. So you want to prevent long shots. You can't have if you're defending with a low defensive line or a standard defensive line, then your players are defending near the edge of the box. If they're defending near the edge of the box, you better not have a high line of engagement, or what I like to call the suicide press. I call this a suicide press. This is a suicide press when you play with a 4-2-3-1. You got several obvious problems, because now I think you guys have figured it out, right? So if you play like this, what do you think is going to happen?
You're going to get pulled to pieces, and then there's just such a big gap between your midfield and your defence.
Exactly. And those defend, and then the other problem you're gonna have is when you play on higher mentalities, you're gonna have to have at halftime you're gonna need to substitute probably about 6 players. You have to take 6 players off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All 6 players are gonna be super tight. Okay, all right, so now we've done open play, right? So in open play, you have to look at your players, you have to look at the attributes positioning, you've got to look at the gap between your defensive line and your line engagement. You've got to look at whether or not your team needs to play with a DM. Now let's take a gander at set pieces. This should be fun. Okay, so let's do default. Okay, I'll reset to default. Okay, now when you begin the game, you're faced with certain default set pieces that come out of the gate. So you've got this default set piece that is gonna come with the game. Matt, you raised the point that you're suffering from long shots, right? So the second ball, you get a long shot, either from a cross. So now if from a cross you suffer from the second ball long shot, it's probably because when your boys hit the ball, Okay, there is nobody to help you recycle the ball, so you don't have enough close support. So the player who wins the ball doesn't have an easy out, or the player who is there or thereabouts doesn't have very good anticipation to win the ball. So you need to look at the player in the holding role, or whether you need to have a player in the holding role. So if you're not playing with the DM already, you might want to consider, okay, fine, maybe I need to start taking a look at having a DM in my system. But here, when we come to set pieces, it's even more interesting. Now, we want to prevent long shots. So what we want to do is we want to actually look at these two positions. Notice now, if I come to this position and I click on him, you notice this area here, it lights up with important attributes. It's got anticipation, acceleration, concentration. Why in the world would somebody have concentration here? Who is going to take a guess?
I mean, they concentration so they could focus on what's going on. So if the ball ends up outside the box, they could close it down.
That's the one I want to hear. Exactly. Okay, that's actually the real reason why. So you want a player here at the edge of the area who's got concentration and acceleration, right? And anticipation. You've got all the attributes already written down here very nicely. Anticipation, acceleration, concentration. Very sweet. As I've given it important. All you need is to put a player here who's got these attributes. Then you need to put another player here. So now we've got two players here at the edge of area to handle any long shots from this area. But what about, you normally have one chap passing the ball here, right? And sometimes you get long shots from here. These guys sometimes don't get here in time. So you got two go backs here. Okay, so what I normally do is I have two go backs here who have got decent positioning, okay, and acceleration. So I look at them having acceleration and positioning to go up and close down this slot. Now we have these three positions left. Sorry, we have these 5 players left. Okay. So all you have to do is make sure that you are defending the 3 most important zones. So you've got this far post where you normally have a player with great jumping. So the annoying thing is we can't really see the attributes. So you got to make sure that you can see this. So obviously Milner is totally useless in this position, but we're going to use him as an example. Then you just have to get a player with good jumping reach in this position. So we'll stick him here. We got one jumping reach already. Then I have to put another player here with at this position, which is the zonally marked the 6-yard near post, because hit crosses come in. Somebody's at the near post to flick it onto the far post. This is how I would set an attacking corner routine up. So if I have an attacking corner routine, I have my best header here hitting across to this guy. This guy is going to score. So this is a very simple setup. And I've got 3 players here waiting to receive the pass and hopefully cracking the ball from outside the box. Yes, I do. This is my long shot routine. But it also allows me to recycle possession of the ball if I wanted to. It doesn't always happen because, to be honest with you, there's a better long shot routine than this. Here we have to defend against the long shots, you have to make sure that these 2 edge of areas are taken care of, and you've got 2 go backs, and you make sure that what I normally do, if the corner is coming from this side, is to do something like this. Sometimes what I do is I take this guy out and I go, okay, one of you should be free to mark the top player. So I don't have anybody on post. Then, this is a form of mixed marking. Now, if you want to go old school, of course you can. Then you go old school, you put one guy here, one guy here. This is the old school way. Then you tell one of these guys to mark the top player. Sorry, and mark top player. So one of these guys marks the top player, one guy goes back. You got 2 closing down the edge of the area, or you can have 1 closing down the edge of the area and 1 going back. Or rather, go back or man mark. So you still cover the zones. So this is another way for you to handle the long shot issue.
Yeah, I found that really insightful. Actually, an issue I've really had, like just set pieces in general.
Okay, and then what about, okay, this is another thing that I noticed, right? This is now we just go to free kicks, right? So okay, defend. There's this indirect wide free kick. I noticed the default again. This is the default routine. Okay, we've got a default routine. Have any of you encountered the default wide free kick routine to give up goals at the far post with alarming regularity?
Yes, it actually happened to me the last game I played.
Okay, was your set piece routine something like default like this?
It was. I thought I had changed it. and then I conceded the goal in a 1-0 loss, which is their only effort. And then I went back after the game and checked, and it had reset itself to the default.
Yeah, this could be annoying. That could actually be a bug because it's not supposed to do that unless you change your tactic. So if I change my tactic in a game, what could actually happen is it could be a different set piece altogether. I have this habit nowadays of going into my game as the game is progressing, like 15 minutes, half time, I'll check my set pieces again because this is the position you want to take care of. Far post. You don't have to do much. You just have to make sure far post has got somebody here. This is the position I hate because this is the one that they concede goals from. And I got indirect deep. I got far. This is indirect deep. I got far post and near post. I got two of my best defenders here. I don't have anybody marking a tall player. I just go like, damn, this is gonna go. If this goes deep, I want these two guys to handle the headers. So it's been working for us because I don't really concede goals. Because we've changed, the last 10 games, I've been changing tactics in every single game. I've been using a lot of different tactics. Some of them, I think in this game, I was using a tactic that's going to be coming up in the handbook. I think it's the Leon Demon. And this is a tactic that I use. But as you can see, there's a huge gap, right, between the midfield and the defense. And if I load the Leon Demon in, hopefully I can find it. Yeah. Then I will look at my defensive line. I play a standard line of engagement with a high defensive line because I don't want any long shots. So the tactic in itself is going to control the game really well, but I want to regroup. I play on a positive mentality so my players drop back. I don't want to play counter press because there's a whole problem with counter press here. Now you understand what counter press can possibly do to my defense. So if I were to counter press with this tactic, it's suicidal at the moment. There's no point me counter pressing this. So what I do is what I call in the game a split block. So I close down more with these guys, and these guys are all closing down more. So they only close down more, but I don't do the counter press. So I have a split block. These guys are not being touched. So these guys do the closing down when they need to, right? So these guys hold their position, and then I play with regroup, and I play with a standard defensive line. So if I lose the ball, right, the first action on my players is to regroup. They get back into their positions. Once they get back into their positions, they press. There's a big difference between that and counter pressing. If I were to counter press right now with these instructions that I have, is suicidal. I will lose because not only are they closing down more when they don't have the ball, they're also going to be pressing forward when we lose the ball right after we've got possession. So it's going to lead us to it's going to cause me to open up the middle. So now I hope that you guys have seen how you can prevent long shots in your game. I mean, essentially we're going to just cover the basics again. First, you got to check your players out. See whether you need to have a defensive midfielder's base system or you not. Right? So whether you can play a 4-2-3-1 or not depends largely on the players that you have. If you don't have the players for it, then it's better you don't. If you don't have good players with defensive, you don't have defenders with good positioning, then they need help. You need to get a DM or an anchor man or somebody to stand in front of them. Or the role is important. You don't want somebody running all over the place like a ball-winning midfielder. And you also want to make sure that the screen in front of them, the midfield screen, has got positioning, and can do tackling. Now, if you don't use a DM, then the screen in front becomes very important. If you use a DM, the screen in front, you can afford to be a bit more lax with the screen. So if you were to play a system like this, for example, here I am using an anchorman, but I'm a bit more laissez-faire with these guys. I can have a winger, I can have an inverted winger. Because I have an anchorman, I can afford to be a bit more aggressive. This is a different Ironhide system. I keep changing my tactics, so we'll have to forget this one. I have to remember what my old tactic was like now. Okay, then you got your screen, you got the anchorman. Then finally, you got to look at your defensive line and your line of engagement. If the gap between your defensive line and line engagement is very high, you leave horizontal channels. You also got to be very careful about how you use overlaps. The moment you use an overlap, you got to start thinking, this guy's going to bomb forward. He's on an overlap. Let's assume I've given him his overlap. He goes overlap. His mentality now is very attacking within an attacking mentality, within a team mentality that's attacking. If we go positive, he is still very attacking. Only time he's gonna drop is when I play balanced. That's the only time this Joker is gonna be, and he's still very attacking. Dear Lord, I was wrong. Gotta go down to cautious. Can you finally be attacking? You see, when you play with an overlap instruction, depending on the role, these guys are going to be very aggressive. So if I was the only time fullback attacking, he will be different. He's going to be attacking. So this is something that you have to bear in mind, because this guy's initial position is going to be affected not only by the mentality but by the role. The wingback's positioning is much higher than a fullback on attack. The wingback on attack is further forward. So when he's further forward, you open up the vertical channel. When you open up the vertical channel and you play with a ball-winning midfielder here, this guy's going to drift over here when he needs to defend. So you're going to be vulnerable to a long shot. So this is very important. The right role and the duty. Then the player traits. The player traits is also very important. So you got player traits. You got to look out for get further forward. You got to look out for draws on ball. You got to look out for dives into tackles. And then finally, when you're looking at your set pieces, you want to make sure that when you set up your set pieces, you're looking at the right players in the right positions. This is a fundamental error that a lot of people make. You want the players at the edge of the area to have good anticipation, concentration, and acceleration. You want these players to be able to snap, to shut down those funny long shots that we might see once in a while. And then you might also get the occasional long shot from a wide free kick, or you might get that might happen. Of course, we can't shut down all long shots. This can still happen, but at least you can reduce them considerably. I've only had one long shot this entire season. I've only considered one long shot this entire season. So, but in all fairness, we haven't conceded any goals. So this could be different for other teams. Stalybridge Diaries, they work very hard to shut down long shots. We have a very poor team there, but he's doing a very good job with that as well. So do you guys have any questions after this?
No, thank you.
Right. Okay, Jared and Jack?
No, I think you just covered about everything. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. And what about Jack? How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I think I've been making notes. I think revise my tactic. I might raise my defensive line and alter my.
Okay, cool. Your show is coming out as well, I think today or tomorrow. So I've done yours as well, and yours was kind of interesting when I did your save. Yours is wait, hold on. Yours is West Ham, right? Or Newcastle? Which one is it?
Mine's West Ham.
Yours is West Ham. Man, you have a damn good team. Yeah, Newcastle is also not a bad team, but you have a good team. Your West Ham team. The only problem with your West Ham team is there's so many players with funny traits.
I know the midfielder you're on about. I think it's Decore.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing as box to box, and he gets further forward as his.
Yeah, and he bombs forward. He's like a box to box on attack duty.
Both my starting fullbacks gets further forward as well.
Yeah,
or gets forward whenever possible.
So now when you go into your game, you'll notice when you look at the highlights. I think there was one game. I can't remember the game now. Yeah, one game. I think you got Vargas as well as one of your players.
Yes, Matthias Vargas. Yes.
If you go into one of your matches, watch out for the highlights where you got Vargas playing on the left flank, and you got Augustinson playing on the left flank, and you had Mark Noble playing on the left flank. I almost fainted when I saw that. I was like, oh my god. First he's got Mark Noble, who's really slow. Then he's got Vargas playing, comes deep to get the ball. Then he's got Augustinson, who's getting further forward. What do you think that's going to happen to all three players?
They're all going to be, I don't know, they're all going to be moving around, and then they're not going to be close to each other playing passes.
But what I noticed was you had the inside forward with sit narrower. Now, sit narrower is an instruction that is great for fullbacks if you want them to pass to the midfield. But if he's an inside forward in an advanced position, he's just going to sit narrower. So he's going to be waiting in a narrow position. You're hoping that he overlaps. You don't need to do that. So it's the first time, it was the player trait that was not helping you out. So against really good teams like Man City or some of the top teams, what's going to happen is because they're so close together, you're not able to attack space. You won't see the problem when you're playing teams that you should be hammering. Okay, that's not going to be an issue. But against teams that you are trying to defend against, like top teams like Chelsea, West Ham, Oh, not West Ham. Chelsea, Liverpool. No, Liverpool's not a top team, but Chelsea, City. These teams who might be playing with a high aggressive press, right, you're gonna have that issue. So yours was a very interesting save, and I'm looking forward to the game changer episode coming up. You got to be very careful. This is another common mistake people make when they look at their players. They don't see how the traits really screw things up. It's a mild way of putting it. Okay, so Jared, Matt, and Jack, I want to thank all of you for coming in on today's show. I really hope it helped you guys out, and we will try and do this again very, very soon.
Thank you very much for having us.
Oh man, it was a pleasure. Okay, so Matt, you came in all the way from the US of A. So I hope this is not a it's 5 p.m. in the evening, I think.
Yeah, no, it's actually pretty good time for me. So yeah.
Oh, great. Okay.
Thank you.
And Jack,
Yeah.
I hope your save gets better. I think it does. Your West Ham team can definitely enter. Not only can enter Europe, they will do very well if you have just put the right players in.
I think I'm currently, I'm like I said, I'm in January and I've already played 30 games because I've had Europe and I'm still in all the cups.
Okay.
So my team's getting very tired.
Okay, good. Your team is getting very tight, I know. But what you can do is there's another way of playing this game. I'll probably do that in another session where I play a very attacking tactic with low intensity. So I have actually got a very aggressive tactic, but my players don't get tired. So it's a bit of a my challenge to SI is this a bug? Because it certainly seems like one, because how is it possible that I can play a very attacking tactic but my tactical intensity is so low? This is a mystery to me, which I need to figure out. This is very, very interesting. Okay, so guys, thanks for joining me today, and I hope the show proved useful. Now, this FM University is a show that is open to all my patrons, and I try to help out as many people as I can. So if you have any questions about today's show, and you need more information, please look me up on Twitter at Bustthenet or addictedtofm.com. Once again, I'd like to thank all my patrons for their continued support of this channel, make these kind of shows possible. For the rest of the community, you guys take care, have a good one. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.